what contradicts what you said is that, as we know, black men date outside the race the most. So that lets you know black men are really in love with the shape of black women. And
Mm,
that is
mm,
something, because men are visual
mm,
creatures,
mm,
that is something many men in any culture won't compromise, are those physical attributes. And black men, just to get cooperation from women, will compromise all of that. Right. So I was not like, I didn't give up because I could not compromise on the shape. You see what I'm saying? So, but you see that most black men will. So we're willing to compromise more than you're admitting.
mm.
Um, I didn't say that men will not compromise, right? That's not what I said. What I said is that men have a line that they refuse to compromise past. That was my statement. Men will still compromise, but I think
Mhm.
women are, and let me be clear, right? Most women desire marriage and they compromise that. Most women desire a certain type of look and yet they're having children with men that don't look like that. Most women require a certain level of financial stability and yet are partnering up with men that do not have that. Most women are looking for a certain sexual prowess and are compromising that because most women are not having orgasms. Like, this is what I mean by women are more compromising even though the list is longer, because even though they're very adamant about saying I want these things, the reality of who they are partnering up with can be so drastically different than what they're saying they want. Whereas men, typically, it's not too far off. Yes, there's some wiggle room, but they're not straying too far from what it is that they say that they want, especially if they actually have access to it.
Okay.
That's not lining up with statistics or with any of the former shows from this actual channel. So it's funny
So which
because
part can you clarify for us?
I'm about to do it now because I watched the show with you and Cheek Critique, where y'all was like, women are having a hard time finding financially attractive men. And then also said that women are the most single that they've ever been. That's another stat. So how is it that these women are able to compromise on things and still being single? They're not compromising on enough things, or they're not compromising on things that somehow, some way, women have chosen that they're not going to compromise on these things, just like you're saying men aren't. And it's starting to show more that women are deciding to be single because they're not willing to compromise. As a matter of fact, when we ask the question, kind of like what it is that you all want, it seems like there's a mixed emotion or mixed thing, but y'all really just want like this amalgamation of an all-star, and you're not willing to compromise for it because of the things that you now have, i.e. paying for the bills, i.e. So it's like the rights that women have, the things that they've earned through suffrage and the women's, movement has allowed them or allotted them the ability not to compromise. And because men won't compromise on your compromise, we're deciding to either date out, go passport. That's why all these things are starting to exist. There's no compromise on either end.
Well, so it was a part. I mean, you kind of confused because it kind of veered off to something else. But the first, what did you say the first time around? Like, what did you start out with? Because I had
The
something.
first the first time around, I saw Cheat Critique.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all was talking about men, right? And you all were talking about how women today have made it clear that there aren't any financially attractive men.
Economically attractive men.
That that
So
that
so
right.
what happened? So we all know. I think that Mike um, state the stats earlier that most men don't mate. So when they're saying economically attractive, meaning competitive, and we talked about this last week. You're the go getter in whatever field that you're in. And so that's what we mean by economically attractive. Because women like men who just do the damn thing. We just do. It's just what we're attracted to. On top of that, I would say that the attraction not only is economically, but is he I mean, unless you're a goldie, you might be like, okay, I'll go with that. But some women have to have a physical attraction to him. He does not have to be a god, but just some type of attraction to him, right? For intimacy purposes. And so to have both of those in the same person is sometimes a little hard. So Some women choose either or. They may go for a guy who may not be attractive. They know they're not attracted to him, but he's economically attractive. Some women may go for a guy who is not economically attractive at all, but he is attractive physically to her. Some people don't care about any of that. So it just depends. Does that make
So
sense to the
what?
ladies at least?
So why do you think women are single in the rate that they are? Is it
I
because
don't
they
think
won't
that women are
compromise?
single. No, let me just tell you this. In my
Mhm.
opinion, I don't think that women are single by choice. I think that they find themselves in relationships that
Hmm.
just do not lead to marriage for the most part.
That's a
Women
different
don't,
take.
women don't control marriage, men control marriage. And so most women have been in a long-term relationship on this panel and in life, period. But for whatever reason, we don't know what the reason is, that relationship wasted some years and it did not lead to marriage. So with that being said, I don't know many single women who hadn't been in relationships. Some women, the man was married them. Some women that just is not the case. And so we can always say, well, it's you. But then if the guy you dated the guy, he's still not married. Maybe he just didn't want to get married. He never did. And it was just not spoken and those questions weren't asked. The important questions weren't asked. Go
But
ahead.
I think as women, we need to be really honest, and um, it is still the woman, because if you wasted years, you chose to stay, unless that man was holding you captive, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm getting at, that women will negotiate and compromise the things that they say they want, right? More so than men. Because a man who's looking for marriage is not going to stay years in a relationship with a woman who has no intent on getting married. Women do that, right? When we're talking about men who are economically attractive, right? Women are saying that that's what they want, and yet procreating with men who may not necessarily have legitimate jobs if they're working at all, right? That is exactly the point that I was getting at earlier. Women say they want these things, and yet are getting into relationships and staying in relationships where they're not getting the things that they say that they want, right? And for me, that is the reason why so many women are single. One, because they're frustrated, they're not getting the things that they want. Two, they're staying in the wrong place for far too long. And three, they're not willing to take accountability of their actual choices. They would rather place the blame on other people than to take accountability and start to move differently out of choice.
You got all the accountability tonight, huh? You done came with it
No,
I
tonight.
don't
that's
know what
I,
pill she took, but I like it.
Yeah.
I wanted to add something to that too. But Tia, did you want to go? Did you guys want to go? I did
I'll
want to
go after.
add something to that. Oh,
You go ahead, and then I can go after.
I would argue that women like the same men. That's part of the problem as well. We're competing for the same guys. So it's kind of like if everybody's got the same preference, everybody's got the same type, that man has all of these options, and then you have all these other guys who don't have options, because he's taking all the options. So it's a competitive thing with that guy who seems to fit what most women kind of want. And that's not to take away Nas, because I agree everything what she said, but I just wanted to add that to it.
What do y'all think the solution is if it's only a few guys that like what would y'all think the ideal solution would be?
I like if there's only a few guys like that fit this criteria you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if this is an answer, but I don't agree. I don't agree with that though. That there's only a few.
We look for the different guys, so I think that it's just a different.
Yeah. Like I think, kind of going off of what Enos was saying, and I think women, we want to have to negotiate because we want marriage. Like these are things that, yeah, of course, you might pout a little bit that you're not getting everything, but you don't get everything, in anything. You know what I mean? So it's like that feels a lot better, and you might feel more willing to give your spouse your all when you realize that this is actually a decision I wanted to make. I made it. So I'm going to put forth my best effort, regardless of, what he does. But I don't know. I think someone else should answer that question though, Marcus, because I guess I'm like confused now. So are we saying that like there are?
So let me ask you a question. How
Go ahead.
important to you is attraction? Are you attracted to your mate?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So how important to you when you were out in the dating scene that you had to be attracted to the guy?
It de- I, what I said it depends. It depends for me based on like what the guy, like what his values were, the things that I kind of mentioned earlier. Because I mean, I guess okay, maybe this will help. So my husband's in the military and he doesn't have drill for a while, so he was growing a beard. Wasn't fond of the beard. Okay.
That's kind of petty, but go ahead.
Exactly. So I, of course, recognize that, hey, not my favorite thing, but he's going to have drill soon. He wants to do this because he never gets a chance. I don't care about what I feel about it at this point because I want him to do what he wants to do. You know what I mean? Because he has this opportunity. This might seem very small and minuscule, but it does kind of go with attraction in the sense that some women don't like guys without beards or vice versa. And there's a lot of psychology to it too, which is interesting. It
Well,
had
I
like 8
hope
years.
that doesn't stop a woman from dating a guy.
Oh yeah, that would be insane. But I think attraction is important, but at the same time, as people say, everyone's going to age. And what if this person got in a car accident and was disfigured? Like, yeah, that's just like, it's important, but there's so much more that matters, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Too.
We're not saying that there's nothing more, but let's just be honest, Coach K. There were
Mhm.
guys, because you seem like a beautiful woman. There were guys in school or whenever that you just would not even date. That guy didn't even have an opportunity with you. Okay, so let's be honest. Okay, and it could have been a physical attraction thing. It could have been,
with what I know now or what I knew then.
Well,
You know,
a little bit of both, because I'm pretty sure that those guys, even if you weren't married to your mate, because you just got married, they were
Mhm.
available to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm gonna have to think about, like like add all these variables because I'm trying to genuinely entertain like literally the thought because I mean it's a thought experiment pretty much, but I'm gonna think about this one though. Someone else can go.
Because I'm pretty sure if I see your husband, you guys probably match. I can be like, oh, I can see they, And now if your husband is a guy, you're just saying, like, oh, no, my husband's not that. If you can prove that that's not your husband, then I'm like, okay, I'll rest my case. But if I see your husband and
He's very
case in
handsome.
point.
Yeah, he is very handsome. Very handsome for sure. I can't. All right, get the spotlight off me.
It was good though, but we had to be honest.